I want to talk about how to get a good sound or how to improve your tone on the saxophone and some things that I've done over the years and that I strongly recommend. I mean, the first thing that I would recommend is you've got to have a really good mouthpiece and a really good reed, and that's all got to be set up correctly on your mouthpiece. So if you're playing a beginner saxophone, the chances are that the mouthpiece that it came with is not really high quality, and you're not going to get a high quality sound with a really cheap mouthpiece. It's just a fact. I think it's possible, but it's highly unlikely and really difficult. And if you get a really fantastic player with a great saxophone, but you put a really cheap mouthpiece on there, they're not going to get a really great sound. It's just so important. What is a good mouthpiece? People have different varying opinions about this, and this is my opinion. On an alto, I use a Meyer, that's Meyer, Meyer 5, medium chamber, ebonite mouthpiece, and I've just found them fantastic, really good. It's made out of hard rubber, it's not plastic, it's made out of hard rubber, it's not cheap, they're about somewhere around the 130 UK pounds mark. But it's really worth it because you get a really, I think it's much easier to get a nice sound out of this mouthpiece than say a Yamaha 4C, which is also a very good mouthpiece, but this is just much easier to get a good sound out of. And anything less than a Yamaha 4C, it's just going to be super difficult. So I think if you've got like a really kind of basic mouthpiece that came with your sax, that's okay to get started. But as soon as you can afford one, get a really good, the best quality professional mouthpiece that you can afford. You can get them second hand on eBay sometimes. You have to be a little bit more careful, but on a tenor I use an Otto Link Super Tone Master 7 Star, and again just really easy to get a nice sound. So make sure that your mouthpiece is a good one. If you're struggling with your sound and you don't have a good mouthpiece, then something to think about. The next thing is to make sure that your mouthpiece and reed and ligature are set up correctly. I see it quite a lot that people's ligature is like twisted over to one side, or the reed is too far back from the edge of the mouthpiece. And if this is the case, then it's just going to make it super hard to get a good sound. And people vary in what they feel comfortable with in the way that they set it up. So some people do have it fractionally further back or further forward. The reed I'm talking about, have it further back or further forward. But it's got to be set up consistently and accurately. It's got to be bang on target. Otherwise, it's just going to, again, be super hard. So assuming that you've got a really decent mouthpiece and you've set it up correctly, the reed is also important as well. If you're getting cheap reeds from the internet that you're paying, £10 for 50 reeds, just don't think it's going to work. You need a good brand. Van Doren or Rico are brands that I've personally used. Go for the big well-known brands. They're more expensive. It's a pain. They are more expensive, but they're better quality and they last longer and they're more consistent, and just makes it a whole lot easier. Same with tenor. So once your mouthpiece and your setup is correct, I'd like to give you an exercise that you can do. So on a middle note, and this will work on tenor or alto or soprano, whatever you're playing, I go for a middle note because it's nice and stable, and I don't have to think too hard about it. It's not a low note, it's not a high note, just somewhere nice in the middle. So I've got a G on my alto. I'm going to go, and the idea is to make the smallest sound that you possibly can, and you're going to build that up into the biggest sound that you possibly can, and then bring it down again. And you're going to do that over a long note. So sound like this. So I'm not taking like a huge breath, but I'm taking a bit of a breath. So that is a fantastic exercise to do. And my own personal story was that I lived in a two-bedroom flat in London, an apartment in London, for the vast majority of time that I lived there for 30 years, and I only moved up to the house that I live in at the moment 7 years ago. So practicing was really, really difficult, finding somewhere to practice. And I used to play like all my scales like this. So I didn't annoy the neighbours, which also, even that annoyed the neighbours. I had very sensitive neighbours at the time. But and I'm convinced that that helped me develop strength in my chops. So I thoroughly recommend that exercise. Another exercise which I'm going to give you is to take a scale that you feel completely comfortable with. So not one that you have to think about at all. So let's just take C major and ask yourself, how do you normally play this scale? So what I mean by that is, if you think of a scale as a set of steps, are you just walking up and down, just up and down the steps? Or are you stomping up and down like this without too much thought about it? Because you're just focused on the notes, which a lot of people do, or they're focused on the timing, they're focused on the notes. So it's easy to forget about the sound that you're making. Now imagine a toddler or an angry teenager stomping up and down the stairs of the scale, right? That's what we don't want to do. And now imagine a dancer from the Bolshoi ballet or Fred Astaire moving up and down those steps in a way that was just so graceful and fluid and flowing, and the way that they transition from one step to another like a beautiful dancer as their body moves, shifting the weight from one foot to another foot in a really kind of exquisite and really thoughtful way. That's what I want you to do. So take C major and think, am I tonguing the notes, or am I slurring the notes, or am I making a combination of the two? So here's C major, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tongue the first two notes, and then I'm going to slur, and then tongue, and then slur, and then tongue. So look. So I'm really trying to make the transition from one note to another note really, really thoughtful. I'm just thinking about it now. Instead of thinking about the notes, just thinking about making a lovely sound. I'm just thinking about every note, and even just bringing your awareness to making those notes sound as nice as you possibly can will have a difference in your playing. So because it just brings the mindset to this specific thing. The typical advice for improving your tone is long tones, which again is a great exercise. It really is a great exercise to do long tones. If you're going to do long tones, holding them as straight as you possibly can. So on a G again. The idea that I'm trying to do there is just to hold the note as stable as I possibly can, rather than this. So the way that I'm doing that is that my lip is moving not exactly chaotically, but it's wobbling around under the reed, not supporting the reed. So if I do it in the way that I'd like to be able to do it. And even there's a little bit of movement. So just something to practice, just holding a note and holding it really, really straight and trying to make it as beautiful. Last thing, and then I'll finish up because this has gone on longer than I anticipated. But think about the note any note in three stages. So you're going to think about it in terms of an attack, or the start of the note, the sustain, and then the decay, or the letting the note go. So you've kind of got three phases of a note. So am I starting my note like this? which is starting from sort of nothing and then building up, or am I starting at a much sharper? I had my tongue on the tip of the reed, built up some pressure, and then took my tongue away, so I'm tonguing the note. And then the middle part of the note, I want to hold it like we said before, nice and straight. And then the end of the note, how am I letting it go? So there I just tongued it, and the note kind of went up a little bit, so I'd like to avoid that. That was a bit cleaner that time. Or am I going to let the note taper off? Or am I going to let the note taper off and put a bit of vibrato, which is my personal method, modus operandi. So just let the note kind of go. So it's not a question really for me if you can do these things super well or get them completely accurately. It's just bringing your mindset to thinking about playing the saxophone in this way, and how tone production is probably the most important thing on playing the sax. The thing is that with a piano, my son is a wonderful 14-year-old pianist. You know, when you strike a note on the piano, you hit a key and a hammer hits a string, and the note that it produces is very, very consistent and stable. And it's very easy for me as a non-pianist to go and hit a note or a couple of notes and it sounds really beautiful. Whereas for a sax player, it just isn't like that at all. Tone production is something that we need to work on such a lot, and it's really organic. It's coming from muscle and breath and lip and moisture and more, you know, so it's a much more organic, kind of less mechanical sound, whereas the playing of the saxophone itself is, I think, in my opinion, it's a bit easier than playing the piano. I really hope that's helpful to you, and if you'd like to ask me any questions, please do, and thank you for listening. Have a good day.